Welcome to the Caregiver and Spoonie podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Banderas. And before we get started, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes of the podcast. And let's go ahead and get into today's episode, shall we? Now, I want to start this episode by asking you this. Have you ever said to yourself, I don't want this? And it could be in regards to life or the life that you're living, your job, or anything, your illness, or anything pretty much. If you have said that, that is pretty much okay because I have said that so many times throughout my life. But I came across this interview with a few neuroscientists and psychologists, and they were talking about how our brains work in regards to when we say things, like how we're listening pretty much to everything, even though we don't think we are. Now, Dr. Daniel Amen, who is a psychologist or a psychiatrist, he was talking about this, and a lot of neuroscientists and other psychologists and psychiatrists agree with him that our brains are always active. They, like I mentioned, they listen to everything. So we need to be very careful with the things we say and how we say them. Because if we say them the wrong way, our brains are taking that in. So after they were talking about this, I was like, how could that have impacted my life? Because, like I have mentioned, I have said this so many times throughout my life. So I was like, maybe that impacted me somehow. And I don't know exactly why it did to me. So, just to give you a little background, when I was facing depression back in the day and nothing will go right according to me in my life, I would literally say that, like, I don't want this life, or like, I don't want to do this, or I don't deserve this, like things like that. But when you're depressed, obviously it gets a little bit worse because depression, you know what I'm saying, right? Like, you're depressed, you say to yourself, oh, I don't want this life, why is this happening to me? So you kind of like digging yourself deeper and deeper in the hole. But based on the information that Dr. Amen was talking about, I figure out that because I kept saying that I don't want this life, pretty much my brain was taking my own words too hard, and my life was pretty much miserable. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, I felt like my life was miserable. Like, I didn't really like anything in my life. I was sad because nothing was changing, and I was getting even more depressed every day that went by because of all of this. Like, I mean, like, nothing was changing. I wasn't happy. So obviously that is not going to help you when you're in a depressive state. But after hearing this particular conversations with Dr. Amen and his colleagues, per the information they were giving out, I gathered that we are supposed to give very specific information to our brains. So we are supposed to give like specific instructions, kind of like when you want the perfect house, or in this case the perfect life. Uh, you have to give very specific instructions, like, I don't want this life because, like, or I want this to happen because, like, you have to be very specific. That's one of the things that they were talking about. So I decided to try it. So I decided to try it. I decided to do just that. Instead of saying I don't want this life, I started to say I don't want this life because I know I deserve better. I know I can do better. I know I want better. So that's one of the things that I had to change. And when you're used to pretty much for years and years and years, uh, you have said to yourself like, I don't want this life or anything like that, you're gonna get used to it. It becomes a habit. So I had to break that habit. So at the beginning, when I started doing this, I didn't see any changes. I didn't see anything happening, and that happened for a while. But once I started saying that to myself, it's like, I don't want this life because I know I deserve better. I need to do better. I started thinking, well, since I want to do better or have a better life, what am I supposed to do? Like, what do I need to do? What do I need to change? You know? And one of the things that happened at that point, and I noticed this after a while, is that I started to be willing to change myself so I could get the life I wanted. And I have been able to start to change my life for the better. So that's one of the biggest things I have been able to achieve after I read all of this information and I listened to all of this information. Because after I listened to the interview with the psychologist and the neuroscientist, I started doing more research about it. So that's when I decided to, let's try this and and see if it works. And because I was telling myself that I deserve better, that I wanted better, I was like, well, if you want better, you have to do better. Pretty much that's what I was telling myself. So that's something that I had never tried before. So it was hard. It was hard because you have to step out of your comfort zone, literally. So you might want to try it as well. But one thing that I do want you to understand is that you're gonna have to step out of your comfort zone. You cannot stay on that comfort zone if you want to change. Like, if you're at the point where you're like, I don't want this illness, then what do you need to do? Because sometimes, depending on your illness, it might not go away, but you might be able to find something that is going to help you feel, let's say, better 10% more, 20% more. So you might be able to try, like some kind of therapy that helps your body, some kind of diet that helps your body, something that will help your body. And that's when you decide to start to change. That's pretty much what it is. When you start doing that, that's when you literally can say like, I don't want this life because I deserve better. I know I can do better. And that's where you start. Now, or at least that's where I started. Now I'm not bragging. I don't want to come off as bragging or anything like that. What I'm trying to tell you is that sometimes the way that we say things or do things can hold us back and we don't even know it. That's one of the things that I realized as well after I started trying this new way of thinking. Because, as you guys know, I'm a spoonie and a caregiver. So I have to take care of myself, obviously, but I also have to take care of my wife. So that's very stressful because obviously my wife is sicker than me. So I have to be in top shape pretty much as I can. Let me put that out there. And one of the things that I have seen a lot, especially on social media nowadays, is where people literally just say that I don't want this life. My life sucks. My life is this. My life is miserable. But one of the things that I have noticed is that nothing changes for them because every post, everything they say online is negative about their life. So based on what the scientists literally based on what the science says, uh, if they keep saying that, nothing is gonna change. So when and the worst part about this is that when you're facing a chronic illness, it gets so much worse. Or when you don't want to be the caregiver for someone, it can make your life down unbearable. Like, it's not, like I have said, it doesn't get easier, it gets harder. And if we want to have a better life, no matter what we're going through at the moment, we need to understand that sometimes we need to change the way we talk to ourselves so we can see that there is better for us out there, that it's not just about the illness, it's not just about the suffering, it's not just about like the struggle itself. It's about how we can overcome the struggle, because this has helped me, and that's why I want to talk about this, because it has helped me a lot. My wife is starting to try it because she has seen the change in me. So that's why I'm like, well, I'm just gonna put it out there, and if any of you decide to try it and it works, let us know, because obviously we want people to know what's working for you guys. That way, other people can try it as well. Especially since we're a community, we want to be very inclusive, like I have mentioned in multiple episodes before. But this is just a small step. This is something that anybody can try. Obviously, if you want to, I mean, it will be completely up to you, but this is something that anybody can try, and I can tell you that it takes time for you to see any changes. But if you decide to try it, just be patient, because this is one of the things that actually taught me patience. And I'm not very patient at all. You can ask my wife, that's for sure. So so that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about in today's episode. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your support. Thank you for the new listeners, the new followers, the new supporters. I really, really appreciate how we're growing organically. I love it. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe so we can grow even more. And you can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And don't forget that the episodes have changed to weekly, only on Mondays for now. That way I can do the research, and I can give you better content, or better episodes in this situation. And if you want to share your story, don't forget to send it to me at the caregiver and Spoonie life at gmail.com, or you can post it on our community at the Spoonie and Caregiver community on Facebook. And I'll leave you like always. Always take care of yourself and have a great day.